Monday, May 9th, and it's now 6 p.m. This meeting of the Klein ISD Board of Trustees is now open. Representing the quorum tonight are Ms. Georgianne Reitmeyer, Mr. Steve Simzak, Mr. Rick Mann, and myself, Stephen Smith. As provided by Texas Government Code, the Board of Trustees will now go into closed session in accordance with sections 551.071, private consultation with the board's attorney regarding all matters as authorized by law, including board governance, 551.072, discussing purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, 551.074, discussing employment, evaluation, or discipline of personnel, including board governance and including superintendent evaluation and contract, 551.076, discussing security personnel and devices, 551.082, discussing disciplinary matters or complaints regarding school children and or school district employees, 551.0821, discussing personally identifiable information about public school students, and 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations. The meeting of the Board of Trustees will reconvene in public at approximately 7 p.m. Have your attention, please. Good evening. It's now 7:10 p.m. and the meeting of the Klein ISD Board of Trustees is reconvened. If you have not already done so, please silence your electronic devices. Thank you all for joining us at tonight's meeting. We're a school district of approximately 50,600 students and 6,700 employees. We always appreciate when members of the community and staff members attend our meetings. In particular, we have one guest tonight. Mr. Kevin Roberts is the Republican candidate for House District 126. So, Kevin, we're glad to have you here this evening. You'll note on tonight's agenda, a school district resident, employee, vendor, or potential vendor has an opportunity to address the board for one of four specific reasons. If anybody would like to address the board for one of those reasons this evening, and you've not already done so, please come sign up with our secretary, Mr. Steve Simzak. Tonight, Ms. Reitmeyer will lead us in prayer, followed by Scout Zach Thomas, who will lead us in the pledges of allegiance to the American and state flags. Ms. Reitmeyer.
If you'll stand with me, please. Bow your heads. Lord, we come together tonight as a community, thankful for this school year and all of our students that have learned and what they have accomplished. We are blessed with students who are high achievers and students of character who bring value to the lives of others. We pray blessings and protection on each student and all those who have built into their lives: parents, teachers, coaches, conductors, directors, bus drivers, cafeteria workers, custodians, and a myriad of specialists for student interest and guidance. We are blessed in Klein with provision and opportunity. May our decisions be wise and our hearts grateful. You are the source of all these good things. Be with this district in transition, and we pray blessings on Dr. Kane as he has left an important mark of an excellence on our district. Keep him in golf balls and safety on his many travels. Bless him, Lord, for he has served us well. And all those in agreement would say, Amen.
All right, if you would please place your right hand over your heart, or if you're a scout, please salute and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2.
For the Texas honor.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Zach. School board meetings must be conducted. Sorry, we got a little accident under the bench here. School board meetings must be conducted in strict accordance with Texas law. For example, we cannot vote on anything that's not on the agenda. And in fact, we can't discuss anything that's not on the published agenda. However, we can discuss certain things in private, such as matters regarding personnel, the discipline of students, acquisition of school sites, matters of school security, and specific items requiring legal advice. But even then, the voting must be done in the full view of the public. Please understand that this meeting is for the board to have discussion, to deliberate, and to take action. So we ask that you refrain from making comments or public demonstration during the meeting so that we can focus on the matters before us. The superintendent, in consultation with the board president, prepares the agenda and notice of the meeting 1 week in advance. The board members review the material, and if they have questions, they often call the superintendent to get the questions answered. Therefore, we come to the meeting many times ready to take action. So if you're here for the action items later this evening after the intermission, and it appears that we're moving fairly quickly through the agenda, it's because we've reviewed the matters ahead of time and generally know how we're going to act. We deeply appreciate the public trust that you've bestowed upon us, and will continue to work diligently on behalf, with the school administration on behalf of your children. And now we're ready to proceed with the agenda. And one thing we do in each meeting is honor a different segment of our society. And yesterday was Mother's Day, and so we may be a day late and dollar short, but we would like to honor mothers, given the importance they serve in our society today, obviously. So we'd like to honor two mothers, and we need to figure out who they are. So we would like to honor the longest tenured mother. And so think about when your first child was born, and if that child was born in 1950 or earlier, would you raise your hand? Okay, how about 1960 or earlier? Firstborn child. Any mother here with a child born in the 50s? Okay, how about 65? 65 or early? We got a bunch of young mothers in the crowd. How about 1970 or before? There we go. We have a winner. Edmund, can you give me a hand? You don't have to go far on this one. Would you give this to Ms. Reitmeyer, please? Thank you.
Evan, you are Thank you. The oldest mother. All right.
The most experienced mother.
Politically correct.
Okay, we're going to go to the other end of the spectrum and find our newest mother. If you had a firstborn child born this year in 2016, or if you're pregnant with your first child, would you raise your hand? Nobody 2016. How about, whoa! We do have a hand. Would you stand, please? There's our newest mother. All right. Edmund, I need you again.
I meant to bring that article from Rhonda.
Okay, the next tradition we have that's all of a month old right now is that Mr. James Wunderlich will share with us another chapter of Klein history.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Kane, Ms. Spalding. This is chapter 2 of the early days of Klein, Texas. Last month, you recall, we talked about the letters that Peter Wunderlich had written back to his folks in Germany, describing life in his newly adopted country and describing Texas as the land from which milk and honey flows. After the presentation and during the break, several people asked me, how do you know after about 150 years just what were in those letters that Peter Wunderlich wrote? I told them, well, we are extremely, extremely fortunate. Shortly after he was killed in the Civil War, his widow put several items in a large trunk which she kept in her bedroom and would add to them once in a great while, but it was always locked, and she never let members of her family or anyone else know what was in there. Later in her life, she did say that there were letters from her and her deceased husband's families from Germany, and some of the personal mementos from her husband that were in that case. Nobody ever saw them. Then at her funeral in 1904, one of her sons, Dr. Frederick Wunderlich, who was a seminary professor at the Lutheran Seminary in St. Louis, mentioned to his family, well, now we will know what Mama had in that suitcase. And he was immediately pounced upon by his sisters, who said, no way. They're speaking in German. Kind of a. No way. Mama always wanted that to be her deep secret, and we're going to honor them now. And they immediately picked up that trunk, took it outside, started a fire, and burnt it without ever opening the padlock. Might have been a lot of money in there, who knows? But we will never know. Talk about respect, but that closed the subject once and for all. Now fast forward about 80 years to 1982, when about 50 families from the original settlers, the descendants of the original settlers, took a trip back to Germany and had a brief stop in a little village called Feudingen, which the members of the Strock family said that's where their families came from. Well, my mother was a Strock, and she had told me long, long ago that the Strocks and the Wunderlichs came from the same vicinity. So needless to say, I was excited that we were going to stop there. And when we enjoyed a meal with some of their local Strocks, I asked them if any Wunderlichs were still around there, and they said, yes, there's one family who still lives in the original homestead, which was built in 1774 on a farm about 4 or 5 miles out of the town. Well, our host took me and my sister and my nephew to that farm. We met what was my 7th cousin, who was still living on the farm, and he was extremely elated to find that there were still some Wunderlichs living in the United States. And he said he had 4 letters that were written by my great-grandfather to his parents back in the 1850s, and he showed them to me, but they were in the original Latinish handwriting, which was nothing to me. But then when they came to visit us in 1982, he brought those Xerox copies of those letters as well as typewritten translations from those. And those documents are now in the Klein Farm Museum. And I would urge you guys to, next time you're out there with a few minutes to kill, read those translations. If you can read the originals, do that too. But in those letters, he described the local type of house construction over here, which was altogether different from what went on in Germany. He talked about how they would get long logs, face smooth, 2 sides, and then notch the ends of the other sides of the logs so that they would interlock firmly at the corners and come up with their log houses. He also described how they made the rail fences over here to corral their livestock, and they were made out of oak because they would enjoy about a 3 or 4 times as long a life as the very plentiful pine. He also was fascinated by the fact that over here every person did everything that needed to be done, whereas in Germany you had one person who was the licensed carpenter, you had one person who was the licensed shoe repairman, you had one person who was the licensed butcher, and anybody who needed any of those services performed had to go to that licensee to get the work done. And he said, over here you have to be what we now call a jack of all trades and do all of the work yourself. He also, while he was still in Germany, he saw how charcoal was made, and charcoal was made simply by taking perhaps 100 logs, putting them in a shape of a wheel, such as spokes in a large wheel, with the center of it slanted slightly downward. and then they were piled one on top of the other until you had a pile of logs, perhaps 10 or 12 feet high. Now, an iron kettle was put right in the middle of that, of those logs, and then the entire stack was covered with about 2 or 3 inches of dirt, soil, with very few breather holes. And when that was all completed, they would ignite the bottom of the logs, and because there was no air, they would not ignite into flames, but would simply coal, and in about 4 or 5 days, they had not a stack of logs, but a stack of pure charcoal. He would then haul, he did this over when he came over to our country, to Klein, and he would haul this charcoal to the foundries in Houston. Now, as this charcoal was being made, the tar and the sap would go downward into this black iron kettle in a black pitch-like substance, and he would sell that to the stagecoach, which went right aside of his property from Houston to Waco. And they would use this to grease the wheels, keep them from squeaking. So you can see these people who were not afraid of work would do virtually anything to earn $1 as long as it was legal. He also cut timber from the property that he had purchased, took it to the local sawmill, had it dressed into lumber, and would haul that to Mexico, all the way to Mexico, a wagon load of lumber where he would sell the good lumber across the border, and come back with a number of saddles, leather goods that he would buy, and he would sell this then to his neighbors. Now this trip would take from 4 to 6 weeks that he would be away from home, but the farm would continue to be managed by his wife, the family would continue to be raised by his wife, and the family would continue to be fed by his wife. I mean, hey, what are wives for? So, while it wasn't all that bad on the surface, but while we think of that perhaps their life it was better than it was in Germany. There's no question about that. But while they were living here, it was no bowl of cherries. For instance, several years after Peter Wunderlich was killed in the war, he had a sister who married a hostler. We all recognize that name. On their way over here, she and her husband and 2 boys, both of them under 6, the older boy got sick and died. Well, you know what happens when you die aboard ship. They wrap the body in a sheet, and over the side it goes. You can imagine the emotional stress that this young couple endured on that ship. No other relatives, thousands of miles from home, and as she later said, watching her boy being laid into his final resting place in the ocean, as she said, to be eaten by the sharks. It's difficult, but it didn't stop there. About 3 years later, her husband, Hostler, was a school teacher. He contracted a fever while he was over here, didn't stay down long enough to completely recover, got a relapse, and died. So here was this young widow with a young child, no source of income, so she moved in with her sister-in-law, the widowed Peter Wunderlich's widow. So the 2 lived together for about a year or 2, and then she married into the Kaiser family. So, like I said, it is no bed of roses. And then one more story, and then I'll go to maybe something a little more pleasant. But about 40 years later, Peter Wunderlich II, in the meantime, had married, fathered 12 children, 4 of whom never reached adulthood. And when his wife was pregnant with the last child, right about delivery time, she contracted typhus fever. You'll never guess how. She and another child got the fever by drinking water from the family well that had been contaminated with a drowned rat. And then she was very sick at delivery time. The baby lived 2 days. She lived another week. And then Peter Wunderlich had the responsibility or the duty of burying 3 members of his family. Well, he still had 9 children that needed to be raised, so in about a year he married a cousin of his, a 39-year-old unmarried cousin, to come in and help with the duties and raising the family. Now, back in those days, the young members of the community would gather on a Saturday night, 3 or 4 or 5 weeks after the marriage, and about 20 minutes after the last candle was blown out, they would assemble outside the home and start raising all kind of racket and commotion until the husband would come to the door, invite them all in, and have a party. Of course, everybody, all of the guys, brought with them their ever-present jug. And except at this time, Peter Wunderlich came to the door and yelled out, "Men, don't you have any brains? It's been less than 2 years that I lost my beloved Sophia and 2 of my children, and I'm still in mourning. So please, here, take $5, buy yourself a gallon of whiskey, and go to somebody else's house and get drunk." Now, we don't know just how the new wife felt about that message, but we do know that nobody accepted his offer to take the $5, and you can rest assured they all left a little bit faster than they arrived. But that's about all the time that I have for stories tonight. Next week we're going to talk about the beginning of the education in the original Klein community, and I promise there won't be any more tragedies. But I do feel that it's necessary for us, if we want to recognize and realize and appreciate what we have here in Klein today, and it is truly the land from which milk and honey flows. We do need to appreciate the hardships and the sacrifices that the original settlers made in preparing this community for us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wunderlich. Mr. Kane, you have some agenda items.
I do, thank you,
Dr.
sir.
Kane, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Jan Merrick is here, and she's going to be in our introduction of honor students and teachers.
We are pleased to present students and staff members from 2 of our elementary campuses tonight, Brill and Howdy. Mrs. Henson, the principal of Brill, will begin tonight, followed by Mrs. Wall, the principal of Howdy. Ms. Henson, would you and your students and staff member come forward?
This on. Dr. Kane, there we go. Mrs. Spalding and guests. Tonight I have the honor of introducing 2 outstanding Brill students and 1 distinguished teacher. First, we have Brendan Ward, a 5th grade student at Brill. Brendan has been a proud member of Brill since kindergarten. He is on the all A's and B's honor roll every year and has been on the 3-time spelling bee medalist. Brendan has been a proud recipient of the Duke Tip Merit Certificate for 4th through 6th grade Talent Search. Brendan's teachers describe him as a bright young man who is very smart, creative, and has a great heart. One of the things his teachers love most about him is the enthusiasm he has for learning. He takes a lot of pride in his work and performs 100% on everything that he does. He is also a great writer and adds a sense of creativity above the rest. You're in for a real treat if you ask him to read what he wrote. He is always willing to help out other students and gets along with everyone. Accompanying Brendan Ward are his parents, Douglas and Tracy Ward, brother Brian and Luke Ward, and his sister Emma Ward. Please stand. Next, we have Adriana Risk, a 5th grade student at Brill. Adriana has been a proud member of Brill since 4th grade. Her hard work and outstanding character are reflected each year as she is consistently on the all A's and B's honor roll. Through her hard work and dedication, she received advanced performance on Reading and Math Star. Adriana's teachers state that she is a student every teacher would love to have. She asks thoughtful questions and listens to her classmates. She is kind and thoughtful and is concerned about others. She is funny and often has riddles for her teachers to solve. She always has a positive attitude and a smile on her face. She never gives up and treats her teachers and classmates with respect. Academically, she always strives for excellence. Outside of school, Adriana is a dedicated gymnast. She enjoys reading and speaks 4 languages: Spanish, English, Arabic, and Portuguese. Accompanying Adriana Risk are her mom, Selena Risk, brothers Salim and Ronnie Risk, grandparents Nadira Dahir and Joseph Georges, Aunt Georgina George, and cousins Alina and Jessica Farah. Please stand. Finally, I'd like to introduce Michelle Jones. Miss Jones is a graduate of Southwest Texas State University. She has been teaching for 17 years, starting off in Cy-Fair, followed by Conroe, and then to the Klein ISD. She has been at Brill Elementary since 2004. She teaches 5th grade math and is currently the Brill Teacher of the Year. Missy has served Brill in many leadership roles and is presently a member of CIDC, the Sunshine Committee, and serves as our math club and Stuco sponsor. Missy is respected by her colleagues and strives daily to make her team in Brill a better place. Her team members describe her as dedicated, a hard worker who is always there as a team member. She goes above and beyond what is asked of her and does it with a positive attitude and a smile on her face. She doesn't stop day or night. She is teaching and tutoring students in 4th and 5th grade. She is bound and determined for her students to thrive in her classroom. Ms. Jones believes that there is nothing more rewarding than to teach and see the face of a child when you know he or she has grasped something new. That smile makes it all worthwhile. This shows the confidence that they have in a specific math concept. With Michelle Jones tonight are her mom, Diane Oberman, and Herb Oberman, and her son, Trent Jones. Please stand.
Congratulations, Brendan, on this being recognized tonight. We're so very proud of you. You have a bright future ahead of you. And also, Adriana, we're so very proud of you and all that you do in our school and in your community as a gymnast as well. And thank you for being the dedicated teacher. And we need people like you in our education, and thank you for giving your very best. So if y'all will just come forward.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Kane, Mrs. Spalding, and guests. I'm Rachel Wall, principal at Howdy Elementary, and this is my associate principal, Charlotte Thomas. Tonight, we have the honor of introducing 2 outstanding 5th grade students and 1 distinguished teacher.
Good evening. First, we have Houston Millsap. Houston has been a member of the Howdy Choir, Safety Patrol, and Announcement Team. Houston has mentored kindergarten and 1st grade students. She has been on the AB Honor Roll and has had perfect attendance for 2 of her years at Howdy. Outside of school, Houston plays soccer on the Klein Soccer Club. Houston teachers describe her as smart, thoughtful, and a hard worker. She is always kind to everyone and looks out for others. She is an excellent role model and keeps everyone in good spirits. Accompanying Houston tonight are her father and stepmother, Clinton and Sonia Millsap, and her mother and stepfather, Victoria and James Don, her sister Victoria Villarreal, a sophomore at Klein High School, and her grandfathers, Robert Enlow and James Millsap. Please stand. Next, we have Nathan Jones. Nate has been a member of the Safety Patrol, the JAG Ambassadors, the Flag Team, School Ties Club, and No Place for Hate Club. He has also mentored a kindergarten student this year. He was selected to perform with the Klein ISD Men's Choir. This year he has been on the All A and B Honor Roll and has had perfect attendance for 4 years at Howdy. Outside of school, Nate is a Boy Scout in Troop 78 and swims on the Candlelight Hills Kudas swim team. Nate's teachers say that if there is a job to do, Nate is always willing to take on the responsibility and do it efficiently and to the best of his ability. He is kind, observant, and extremely polite to everyone. He exemplifies leadership. Accompanying Nathan tonight are his mother, Meredith Jones, his father, Bill Jones, his brother, Will, who is a student at Strock Intermediate School, and his grandmother, Diane Jones. Please stand.
Finally, I'd like to introduce Christine Matula. Christine has been teaching 4th grade math and science at Howdy Elementary for 4 years. She's a graduate of Texas State University. Christine's patience and willingness to go the extra mile for her students make her an excellent teacher. She establishes positive relationships with her students and creates an exciting learning environment in her classroom that allows her students to take risks and grow. Her favorite quote is, "The beautiful thing about learning is nobody can take it away from you." This year, her peers selected her as Howdy Teacher of the Year. Christine has served as a sponsor for our Howdy JAG Ambassadors and helped start Girls on the Run at our school. She's a captain for the Howdy Relay for Life team, our school webmaster, a member of our CIDC, our PLC leadership team, and a TL2. With Christine tonight are her husband Patrick, children Robert and Grace, and members of the Howdy faculty. Please stand.
You're going to be in the picture anyway, you might as well get it. So, if you were born in San Antonio, that would be your name? Is that how that? Don't move to Dallas. Congratulations. And Nathan, I see your brother also is a Boy Scout. The scouting family, congratulations. Now, you saw Mr. Wonderlick earlier, or listened to Mr. Wonderlick tell the stories about the Klein history. And I know you've got grandparents that came with you tonight. They've got stories also. Listen to their stories of your family legacy so that in 10, well, 50, 60, 70 years, you can pass that on to your family. Okay? Because it really is, at the core, as Mr. Wonderlick expressed, it's a family legacy. That's what makes Klein, that's what makes Texas, that's what makes this great country. And Ms. Matula, congratulations on your recognition as Teacher of the Year. Seems like you've got some great advocates here for you. So congratulations to all of you. And I guess we're now ready for a picture.
Mr. President, Dr. Brian Greeny is here to make a presentation on the Klein Oak French Symposium.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Kane, Ms. Spaulding, and guests. Tonight I have the honor of introducing the 4-time Texas French Symposium Large School Division State Champions from Klein Oak High School. Now, many of our students placed in group and individual events, and among them are 3 students who out of 900 placed top 10 overall. Now, a little tidbit about this, we've actually won first in state more than 4 years. We've had 4 years in a row. We had a little second place there, and before that, there were actually 3 years we won as well. Now, this year, we placed first by 14 points. In fact, in second place was Lamar Consolidated. So I took the time to call and congratulate their principal, and also let her know that we were going to take credit for first and second. Because the French teacher at Lamar Consolidated is a Miss Marie Landry, who is also a Klein Oak graduate. She was not as amused as I was, obviously. I definitely have to thank the 2 educators that we have that have made this possible. Miss Dania Brady, and you have to understand, I knew her by a different name. She swam for me when she was 11 years old, and now has the pleasure of working for me at Klein Oak. She still has a hard time calling me Dr. Greeny and calls me Coach Brian, but that's okay. And also, new to Klein Oak this year, Miss Danielle Smith. I cannot tell you guys how wonderful these 2 ladies are and the incredible job as educators they do every single day making a difference in our kids' lives. This accomplishment would not be possible without them. So if we could please give them a round of applause. Now I'm actually going to turn it over to Ms. Smith, who is going to introduce the students and volunteers who helped to make this great accomplishment possible. Ms. Smith.
Face that
Turn
way.
around. Face there.
Look at us.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So I'd like to introduce you some of our members. We have, first of all, placing first overall, Clelia Piperno, first out of 900. Yes, we have Sofia Piperno, who placed 7th. We have Caitlin Fallowfield. We have Alexis Joregui, Madeline Jones, Robert LaPlante. We also have Enrico Piperno, Martin Ramirez. We have Stefan Rutledge, Artem Vasiliev, Samuel Diranger, our wonderful student volunteer. His mom, Sophie Diranger, a volunteer, and other volunteers, Christina Moctezuma, fantastic mom and organizer. Equally fantastic, Miss Antonella Piperno. And we have back tonight with us Paola Moctezuma, who was a senior last year. She's now at college, and this year she kept in touch with us, and she was our art advisor. I hope I didn't forget anyone. Did I mention everybody's name? Yes? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Hey, indulge me real quick. Let's get a selfie, guys. Raise your hand, ready?
Congratulations to the students, the teachers, Dr. Greeny. Winning a state championship is very, very nice. It is huge. It really is. Mr. President, Mr. Kurt Drulard is here to make an administrative personnel introduction.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Kane, Ms. Spalding, and guests. Tonight it's my pleasure to introduce an individual who is entering an administrative position. At this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Johnny Sanders to please stand. Johnny? Let's have a hand for Johnny. Johnny is a former Klein Collins High School teacher and coach, and he's most recently served as the campus athletic director, coordinator, and head football coach at Westbury High School. And Johnny's been named the new campus athletic director and head football coach at Klein Forest High School. Johnny played his college football at the University of Notre Dame and played Arena League football with the Pensacola Barracudas. And Johnny, before you introduce your guests, I have some Johnny Sanders trivia. May I give that trivia, please? New England Patriot quarterback Tom Brady, MVP, four-time Super Bowl champion, has thrown 167 career interceptions in college and the pros. 150 in the pros and 17 in college. Johnny is one of 167 people in the world that has one of those interceptions. Thank you for bearing with me, Johnny. I know you have some introductions to make.
Yes, this is my family here. This is my lovely wife, Cherie.
Please stand.
And they're all in the right color.
There you go.
Cherie, this is Kaylee, Aiden, and Ashley.
Welcome back.
Ms. Tanya Little is here, and she has a very important presentation to make.
Thank you, Dr. Kane. I have the pleasure of having David Randolph from Bank of America with us tonight, and he is going to make a presentation to the Klein ISD.
Yes, Bank of America would like to present Klein ISD with its annual revenue share based on its participation in Bank of America Merrill Lynch's purchase card, travel card, and e-payables programs. As a participant of the Texas Public Sector Group, which is comprised of 38 public entities, 23 of which are Texas ISDs, Klein is committed to automating its accounts payables process through the use of card services. Now, based on the district's $9.1 million in spend, Bank of America Merrill Lynch would like to present Klein ISD with a check of over $132,000. Thank you.
And I also would like to take the opportunity to introduce Tracy Edinburgh, our accounts payable manager, and Lisa Turner, our purchasing director that oversees travel and procurement cards. So these two ladies run the programs.
Mr. Monty Mast is here, Mr. President, and he has a very special presentation about our music program.
Mr. President, Dr. Kane, members of the board, Mrs. Spaulding, and guests. 6 weeks ago, 476 school districts across the United States were recognized by the National Association of Music Merchants, NAM Foundation, as best communities for music education out of the nation's 13,515 school districts. Klein ISD was named as one of those districts. The Best Communities for Music Education program evaluates schools and districts based on funding, staffing of highly qualified teachers, commitment to standards, community support, participation, and access to music instruction. The NAM Foundation, with the assistance of researchers at the Music Research Institute at the University of Kansas, evaluates participants on these factors. Designations are made to districts that demonstrate an exceptionally high commitment and access to music education. This recognition is particularly significant in that it doesn't have to directly do with student or group successes, but rather from the support, infrastructure, and opportunities provided by the community, board, and district administration that allow for these programs to flourish and ultimately be recognized in their own right. This is the 8th time in 9 years that the NAM Foundation has recognized Klein ISD with the Best Communities designation. The official award will arrive later this month.
And continuing with the fine arts, we have another presentation.
This has been a banner year for visual arts in Klein ISD. Tonight, we would like to spotlight a few of the most significant achievements. But before we do, we would like to invite everyone in attendance to the Klein ISD Spring Art Open House held this Thursday from 4 to 7:30 p.m. in the Klein Multipurpose Center. This is an opportunity to see the breadth and depth of the work that the students have created over the last school year. Our first award recipients are from the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. 2 Klein ISD students had pieces selected to go into the art auction. The first is auction lot number 47 by Klein High School sophomore Rukshar Shahzad. Her piece, titled Let's Play Cowboys, sold for $22,000, and she will receive a $2,500 award. Supporting Rukshar in attendance tonight are her art teacher Dee Burgess, mother Samreen, brother Rahim, and sister Mehzabeen. If you'll please stand. The second is auction lot number 3 by Klein Oak High School senior Anna Sophia Lagos. Auction lots are in descending order, with the grand champion receiving lot number 1. Anna Sophia's piece, titled Trailblazers, was named painting class champion and is the highest lot number in the history of Klein ISD. The painting sold for $155,000, and she will receive $7,500 in award. Supporting Anna Sophia in attendance tonight are her teacher, Jennifer Scheibel, and mother, Laura. The next group of awards are from the Texas Art Education Association's Youth Art Month Capitol Exhibition. 100 pieces from across the state are selected to hang in the walls of the Capitol, and this year, 4 of those pieces are from Klein ISD. The first is from Schultz Elementary third grader Valeria Gonzalez. Her work is titled Flowery Night. Since receiving this award, Valeria and her family have since moved to Florida, but we wanted to make sure that she was recognized. Her teacher, Catalina Baez, is here in attendance. Next is Frank Elementary fourth grader Eric Rangel. His work is titled Wetland Owl. Supporting Eric in attendance tonight are his art teacher, Timothy Trammell, mother Susan, father Jose, and siblings Emma, Diego, and Veronica. If you'll please stand. Next is Strock Intermediate 8th grader Carolyn Knight. Her work is titled What's Your Superpower? Supporting Caroline in attendance tonight are her art teacher Melinda John, mother Sarah, father Kevin, and brothers Adam and Oliver. The fourth recipient is Klein Oak senior Megan Lips. Her work is titled Miranda. Supporting Megan in attendance tonight are her art teacher Jennifer Scheibel, mother Nicole, and father Paul. The next award is associated with the same event. The Texas Art Education Association's Youth Art Month Capitol Exhibition also includes a student-designed flag. In addition, each flag designer is recognized at the National Art Educators Association Convention, which was held earlier this year in Chicago. Klein College sophomore Cassidy Nordine's entry was selected as this year's flag design. Cassidy is supported by Principal Randy Kirk, Mother Allison, Father Michael, and Sister Caitlin. The next 4 students are national medalists in the Scholastic Art and Writing Contest. 2 of them are double award winners. The Greater Houston area had 16 national award medalists in art, and 6 of those are from Klein ISD. First up is someone you have already seen, Klein Oak High School senior Anna Sophia Lagos. Her art portfolio, titled Life on the Range, was awarded a silver medal. Supporting Anna Sophia in attendance tonight are her art teacher Jennifer Scheibel and mother Laura. Next up is Club 8th grader Presley Turner. Her drawing, titled Leaf and Pine, was awarded a silver medal. Supporting Presley in attendance tonight are art teacher Vivian Fridley Herford, her mother Marcia, and father Kevin. Next is double medalist, Strock 8th grader Lan Nguyen. Her drawings, titled Gargoyle and Blue, were awarded silver medals. Supporting Lan in attendance tonight are our art teacher Melinda John, Father Dat, Mother Jenny, and Sister Lynn. Our other double medalist is Kleb 8th grader Erin Del Pagio. Her drawings, titled Fish Out of Water and Sunday Brunch, were awarded gold medals. She will be receiving her medals in a ceremony at Carnegie Hall in New York City later this month. Supporting Erin in attendance tonight are our art teacher Vivian Fridley Herford, Father Allen, Mother Ping, Sister Stephanie, and family friend Kevin Lee. And our final recognition tonight goes to Klein Oak Senior Courtney Laird. Her piece titled Homecoming was selected by Congressman Michael McCall as his Congressional Art Contest winner and will be hung for 1 year in the Cannon Tunnel that leads into the Capitol building, where it will be seen by tourists and congressional staff. Supporting Courtney in attendance tonight are our art teacher Jennifer Schiebel, Mother Angie, and Father Jason.
Good job, Monty.
Thank you.
Are they all going to leave? Are they all going to leave?
Continuing with our recognitions, Mr. President, Judy Ramato is going to tell us about the TASB Stand Up for Texas Award.
That makes me proud to be a former art teacher. Woo. Wow. Dr. Kane, President Smith, board members, Ms. Spalding, and guests, TASB's program called Stand Up for Texas Public Schools recognizes businesses and organizations that support public schools in the community. Klein ISD is proud to recognize our business partners and to publicly thank them each month. Our honoree for May is Hewlett Packard, and representing HP tonight is Ms. Pavana Polanini Gotti. The administration of HP understands the importance of partnering with education at all levels. When the Klein Education Foundation took on the task of funding the first ever STEAM Express mobile classroom, they called upon the HP team to work with them through the thought process. Ms. Gotti and her team stepped up to the plate and designed an opportunity to donate the use of state-of-the-art HP technology equipment for the STEAM Express. Their team looked at the district objectives for the K-12 curriculum, the technology infrastructure, and mobility issues for a year-round traveling classroom, and created a plan to provide the use of technology needed to accomplish the goals. HP donated the use of nearly $25,000 worth of new HP products and has included the options to replace technology with new products as they are launched. HP is a wonderful district and foundation partner, and we are so proud that they choose to make a difference every day as they stand up for public education. We honor and thank them today with a Stand Up for Texas Public Schools Award for working to benefit the children in Klein ISD.
now have a presentation from the Klein Education Foundation. Cindy Doyle is here. Ms. Doyle.
Dr. Kane, President Smith, members of the board, and Mrs. Spalding and guests, we're very proud to be here tonight. It is my pleasure to introduce members of the Klein ISD Education Foundation Grant Review Committee who make tonight's presentation possible. These Klein Education Foundation board members have accepted the challenge of coordinating the call for grant applications, review of the same in conjunction with the district's curriculum and instruction staff, presentation of the grant recommendations to the Klein ISD Education Foundation Board of Directors, and finally, the Celebration Express. That's our big ride on the big yellow bus. Please welcome Foundation board members Susan Sharon, Julie Stevens, Felicia Davis, Becky Perkins, and Maria Hartman.
They're my backup singers. Twice each year, the Klein ISD Education Foundation directors, business and community partners ride the big yellow bus, better known as the Celebration Express, to deliver big checks to educators who think outside the box. Keeping the tradition alive, on Thursday, May 5th, the Celebration Express surprised educators on 9 campuses with checks totaling $74,500. I know. KISD Communications Manager Denise McLean has assembled a PowerPoint to share with us some snapshots of the day. We have many of the grant recipients and their principals with us tonight with their big checks. Please stand when I announce your grant. The campuses receiving the Spring 2016 grants are Benford Elementary, Fine Motor Time. The award was $1,400, and the teacher is Sandy Schiffer. Next, we have Benignus Elementary, Let's Have a Ball. The award was $2,450. The teachers are Shay Harmon, Kara O'Leary, Jessica Crow, Amy Devlin, and Jonathan Mitchen. Grace England Early Childhood and Pre-K Center, Digging into Learning, Thinking Inside the Sandbox. The award was for $3,450. And the writers were Rachel Heelan, Principal Ann Dristis, and Johnny Perry. The Vistas High School program, Lights, Camera, Green Screen, engaging students through video production. The award was $4,250, and the teachers are Amanda Blevins, Kim Sharp, Scott Williams, Lisa Como, and Carla First. Next, we have Kenley Elementary, Beating Drums, Building Brains and Bodies. The award was for $4,500. Annalise Altendorf, Diane Dodd, and Mary Keith. French Elementary, STEM and Fine Arts, It's Happening in the Library. The award was for $5,000, and librarian Debbie McCamey and Sandra Kozlowski. Next, we have a multi-school grant, which is Dory, Klein Oak, Klein High, Klein Collins, and Klein Forest, To Be or Not to Be. The award was for $5,350. We have Steve Baird, Jamie Filan, Rebecca Brumman, Danny Reeves, and Amanda Simmons. Next, we have our Lead the Spark grants, and these grants I think are especially fantastic because the principals actually write these grants for their entire campus to be awarded. And the first one we have is Earhart Elementary, which is STEAM-powered reading. The award was for $24,000, and the principal is Charles Hall. Also winning a Lead the Spark was the Schultz Elementary STEM Science Classroom. Schultz Teachers Educating Minds. The award was for $24,100, and the principal is Sherry Davenport. The 2015-16 school year was record-setting for the Education Foundation. We awarded a total of $148,005 in classroom teacher grants. To date, the Education Foundation has awarded $1,441,847 to the educators of the Klein ISD and more than $400,000 toward professional staff development. The district serves as the fiscal agent for the foundation classroom grants to ensure that teachers receive the maximum buying power available for their grant funds. Mrs. Reitmeyer and Dr. Kane, on behalf of the Klein ISD Education Foundation Board of Directors, we are proud to present a check to the Klein ISD in the amount, someone want to hold this, of $74,500 for the spring 2016 grants. We would like to ask all of the grant recipients and their principals to come forward with their big checks for a photo with Dr. Kane and trustee liaison to the foundation, Mrs. Georgianne Reitmeyer.
Watch out, Scouts, they're coming through.
I get the Boy Scouts to stand and go back.
If you Boy Scouts sitting on the floor can scoot back a little bit, that might help. Thank you.
That's one of the years ago, HP was just hot, hot, hot. Apple was backwater, and now Apple, Microsoft, Intel, it's amazing. Not even generations, sub-generations. Huh?
Do we have someone signed up to speak?
Yes.
Parent?
A bus driver. Yeah, it'll be a long one.
Okay, now we've come to the point in our agenda where we honor our scouts. And so the scouts room, please stand. You're going to find a microphone will come your way. And we'd like to hear your name, your school, your troop, and why you're here, i.e. what merit badge you're working on. And those items are listed on the screen. Excuse me, if you need help in remembering what we'd like to hear from you.
Hello, my name is Preston Jones. I'm with Troop 87, and I
I go to school at Criminal Intermediate, and I am working on my communications merit badge.
I'm Kason Tellis. I'm with Troop 87. I go to Criminal Intermediate, and I'm working on my communications merit badge.
My name is Austin Domino. I go to Troop 87. I go to school at Criminal Intermediate, and I'm working on my communications merit badge.
My name is Gannon Tellis. I'm part of Troop 87. I go to the Criminal Intermediate, and I'm working on my communications merit badge.
My name is Bobby Ellis. I'm in Troop 87. I go to Middlestead Elementary, and I'm working on citizenship in the community merit badge.
My name is Zach Thomas. I'm in Troop 87. I'm in Klein High School right now, and I'm working on the citizenship in the community merit badge.
My name is Devin Modak. I'm in Troop 87. I go to Criminal Intermediate, and I'm working on the citizenship in the community merit badge.
My name is CD Joseph. I'm in Troop 87. I go to Clark Intermediate, and I'm working on community and citizenship in the nation.
I am Baston Carmichael, Troop 87. I go to school K-12, and I work on the citizenship and community.
My name is William Wagner. I go to Troop 1323. I go to Kleb Middle School, and I'm working for my communications merit badge.
My name is Farzan Ali. I go to Troop 1323. I'm from Criminal Intermediate, and I'm working on my communications merit badge.
My name is Brant Pollock. I'm in Troop 87. I go to Criminal Intermediate, and I'm working on citizenship and communications merit badge.
My name is Emerson Lane. I'm from Criminal Intermediate, and I'm working on the citizenship and the communications.
My name's Colin Lovelace. I'm part of Troop 87, and I go to Criminal Intermediate, and I'm working on my communications.
My name is Sam Hollier. I'm with Troop 87, and I go to Criminal Intermediate, and I'm working on the citizenship and the community and the communications merit badge.
My name is Evan Utterback, and I go to Troop 878, and I go to Club Intermediate, and I'm working on citizenship and communications.
My name's Devin Conrad. I'm in Troop 878. I homeschool, and I'm working on the citizenship of the community.
My name is Kaden Conrad. I go to Troop 878. I am also homeschooled, and I am working on citizenship in the community.
My name is Nate Jones. I go to Troop 78. I go to Howdy, and I'm working on citizenship in the community.
My name is Mason Lambright. I'm with Troop 78, and I go to Strock Intermediate School, and I'm working on citizenship in the community.
My name is Will Jones. I'm with Troop 78. I go to Strock Intermediate, and I'm working on the citizenship in the community merit badge.
I'm Gary Nutterback. I'm with Troop 878. I go to Klein Oak High School, and I'm working on my citizenship in the community badge.
My name is Ben Oka. I go to Troop 78. I go to Strock Intermediate, and I'm working on both citizenship in the community and communications.
My name is AJ Touche. I'm in Troop 78. I go to Klein Collins High School, and I'm working on the citizenship in the community merit badge.
My name is Nicholas Norfolk. I'm in Troop 78. I'm from Klein Collins High School, and I'm working on citizenship in the community and communications merit badge.
I'm Brandon Denny. I go to Troop 78, Klein Collins High School, and I'm working on citizenship in the nation.
Thank you, gentlemen. I think you've set a record. I don't think we've ever had this many scouts before. Now we've come to intermission time, and so the board would like the opportunity to shake hands with students, teachers, community members that were honored in any way tonight. So we're going to come out front, and if you all would kind of form a line to move this way, we'd love to shake your hand. Okay, may I have your attention, please? Now it's time, we'll continue with our citizen inquiry. Mr. Simzak, do we have anyone in the audience who would like to make an inquiry?
Yes, Ms. Rose Macias. Please come to the center microphone, please.
And before you start, I'm obligated to make a legal statement, so allow me to read a paragraph or two, please. Approximately 20 minutes of each regular meeting is allocated to citizen inquiries. After registering with the board secretary, a school district resident, employee, vendor, or potential vendor shall have an opportunity to address the Board of Trustees for the 4 specific purposes as dictated by state laws governing open meetings: to discuss an item that appears on the agenda, to make a request for specific factual information, to ask for a recitation of existing policy, and to redress grievances. In accordance with the law, no deliberation, discussion, or decision will be made other than to consider a proposal to place the subject on an agenda for a subsequent meeting, unless the subject is listed on the board agenda tonight, in which case it may be discussed by the board. Factual information only regarding to a citizen inquiry may be shared at any point by the superintendent. A written response will be provided. Oral comments are limited to 5 minutes in length unless extended by a majority of the trustees, and must not mention any individuals by name or position or contain any personally identifiable reference.
Please.
First of all, good evening, and we thank you for your time this evening. We're here to discuss some concerns that we have about the driver's pay base rate. First, I'd like to say that we all believe we're entrusted with the lives of Klein ISD students, but do not feel that we are paid as professional drivers. Our community expects and demands the best, but our pay does not reflect that. We have to do a number of things as drivers just to get hired on to Klein ISD as a driver. We have to pass a background check, maintain a clean driving record, pass a Department of Transportation physical and drug test. There are 6 endorsements we must pass to be able to obtain a Class B commercial driver's license. And we have to take a 20-hour certification course, must be passed. Next bullet, our calendar is only 177 days with an average of 6 hours a day. That equals about $15,399 before taxes and insurance. This is why we feel it's imperative to have our hourly wage at a higher rate of pay. And one of our main concerns is that we know that our driver attendants are paid the highest amongst our neighboring districts. And we would like to know why our drivers' pay does not reflect the same way. We're paid the lowest, and we need your help. And we feel that we're worth it, because we transport the world's most precious cargo: children, somebody's child, somebody's grandchild, somebody's niece, somebody's nephew. And we love our community. We want to stay and work in our community because we're loyal and we're pro-Klein. And we would like your help.
I think I got about 2 more minutes, and I can add this in there. I've only been in this district for 3 years driving, but I've lived over for 15 years. So I know the tax dollars that did a lot in this community, and I do believe that we have the best drivers. My mom been at HISD. She drove there for 36 years. So I've been over there. I know everybody over there, and I know these are the best drivers. And from what I've seen and noticed, Klein ISD have become a training facility for other districts. They come, they get trained, they go somewhere else because of the pay rate. Then they find out that when they get here, that we're on a 24-month rolling scale. So most people they can't really afford it. If we don't have the option, the luxury to have the 12 months, I think we can govern our own money in the summer. I don't need anybody to govern my money for me. I can save my own. And if I don't need it in the summer, I don't need it. I got other options, but that rolling scale, that would put more in their pockets for them to be able to take care of their families during the year. Another thing is, we always hear, what's either it's not in the budget or we'll add it to the budget, but somewhere in there, it seems to me like we at the bottom. Everything else is more important than the drivers. And I think we got to get that corrected. And I think it has to be now. And I just want to oppose this. I don't know if this can happen or not, but you may be able to tell us if it can or not. And let's just say if it's not in the budget, that's fine. But we put everything else on a ballot. We vote for it. Everything passes. We pass in $180 million schools. We building colleges over here. But the drivers got to get them there. The traffic, everybody can contest that traffic is horrific now. They pulling out in front of these buses left and right. And for us not to have the, I mean, we don't have as many accidents, but we do have a few, but I think we have the best drivers by far, hands down. I love this district. I love the people that I work with. I love the parents. And I believe if you put it on the ballot and let the parents decide if they think that we deserve more than what Aldine and some of these other districts are making, I believe we'll get it with ease. You know, and that's all I really have to say about that. And I hope you really consider that and just look at what we are saying. I think Dr. Kane has done a wonderful job. I know he's getting out of here. Look, we're gonna miss you, and I don't know the next superintendent. I know we picked one, but I didn't get his name. But I welcome him on board. I know he got some issues and some challenges ahead of him. You know, we're not trying to get no union started or anything like that. That's not what we're here for. So I don't want that to come down. You know, the next 2-3 weeks. That's not what we're saying. We're not walking out. Our kids are still gonna get them. We're gonna get them to school. But we need someone to come sit down and talk to us, because if Aldine is making more than we're making, if we're training them, all our good people go in there, and something has to change.
First of all, thank you for being here and carefully articulating your thoughts. We appreciate you being here. We generally do enjoy hearing from you. As I said in the opening comments, this is not structured as a discussion, so we're not going to enter into a discussion with you tonight, but we will respond to you in writing. So thanks again. Thank you. Now we'll continue with our reports. Dr. Kane.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Gene Shepard, District's financial advisor, is here, and he's going to talk about post-pricing bond sale.
Thank you, Dr. Cade. Mr. Smith, members of the board, Ms. Spalding Guest, and Commodore Wunderlich. We have had a most successful Series 2016 refinancing of outstanding debt. Matt Dustin is going to go through, I'm going to hand out the booklets, this pre-pricing booklet, and be happy to answer any questions following. We also have a set of the full financials that if you'd like to go through those, Mr. Petrick has gone through these. This is the final set of numbers, but before Matt comes to the podium and goes through this booklet with you, I wanted to introduce part of the staff that worked on this transaction. There still are a couple that are back at the office, but you've met Matt Dustin, Misael Flores, and then Samantha Jones, all participated. This has gotten to be a very complex problem now with all the federal interference and the disclosure issues that we've got to address to make sure that everything is material that we put out in terms of an offering document so that it doesn't come back to haunt us. So Matt will go through the pricing booklet with you.
Good evening. I know this is a lengthy booklet in front of you, but I'll be brief. Happy to answer any questions you might have if you see something that needs explaining. There's several tabs in this handout. The first one is a summary of what we call the final numbers. These are the numbers that have been verified by a verification agent to make sure that our math is correct, that we've abided by all the necessary statutes and laws regarding the sale of bonds, things like that. This series of bonds that we sold, as you know, were issued to refund bonds that were issued previously at to pay those bonds off at a lower rate of interest. Kind of like you would refinance your mortgage when rates are lower. That's essentially what we're doing with these refunding bonds. We're selling new bonds. The Series A, 2016 A bonds were in the amount of $137.5 million. Those are bonds that are guaranteed by the public school fund, rated AAA. The Series 2016 B bonds, those were bonds that were issued originally when the PSF guarantee was not available. Those amount are $15.37 million. The first page of those final numbers shows a breakdown of what the uses were allocated towards. The second page, which is really the highlight page for tonight, the message is, how much money did the district save by issuing these bonds? The total dollar amount of savings in today's dollars is worth $19.7 million. That's the total reduction of the interest dollars that you saved by issuing these bonds. And that's in today's dollar. That's the present value of that future value. As a percentage, that's 12.5% of the bonds that we paid off. That's a very healthy savings number. The average interest rate on the old bonds was 4.73%. The average interest rate on the new bonds was 2.99%. A difference there of almost a full 2%. The third page of that final numbers section, it shows the bonds that we paid off. Sections of bonds from the series 2007, 8, 2008A, and 2009B, all those associated with the 2016A series. The B series paid off a small portion of the 2005 bonds. The savings there were reflected on page 5. I'll skip to the second section. This is a summary of the yields and interest rates for each maturity of the new bonds that were sold. You can see here they're listed maturing in 2019 through and including 2038. The senior manager, or the underwriter that was selected to sell these bonds, the leading underwriter was Raymond James, as was discussed last month. They led a syndicate of 4 other firms to create the result that I'm presenting today. The third section of this document includes the first 3 pages of the official statement, which is the document that was used to market the bonds, the document that the investors read before deciding on whether they were to purchase a portion of these bonds. It has on the cover the ratings that were assigned to the bonds. These ratings are near the highest that a school district can achieve. You should be proud of these ratings. Moody's rated these bonds AA1, the underlying rating of the bonds AA1, and then they assign the PSF, or the Public School Fund Guarantee, a AAA rating, which is the highest rating that bonds can be rated, the same rating that the U.S. Treasuries sell with. The Series B bonds were rated without the PSF guarantee, as I had explained. Moody's assigned the same rating to them of AA1. And then Standard & Poor's rated both series AAA and then AA for an underlying without the guarantee. These bonds will be delivered on May 23rd, a couple weeks from now. That's the day that the funds will actually be exchanged. The bonds were sold on April 18th, or April 15th, excuse me. The original sale date was April 18th. We moved it up a week because the market was attractive the week that we sold the bonds. The week prior to, so we decided to accelerate the sale. We kind of slipped in a very beneficial time in that week for the market. The supply was rather low. So there was appetite for these bonds. The actual yields and interest rates for the bonds are listed on the second and third page of that section. Section 4 and 5 both include market data. Section 4 includes a summary of the type of economic data releases that happened the week we sold the bonds, the week of April 18th. The fifth section includes a longer historical period of interest rates. And if you want to look at the graph on the first page there, and I'll hold this up for the audience to see, it goes back to 1961. This page here that I'm showing you, it's the first page of Section 5. This is a bond buyer index showing general obligation bonds for the last 55 years. And in late 2016 that we're selling these, or middle 2016 that we're selling these bonds in, the rates are near historical lows. You can see only about 2% of the last 55 years have rates ever been lower than they are now for these types of bonds. The very last section, and then after this I'll pause and see if there's any questions. Section 6 includes 2 rating reports. But in addition to the rating we get that we assign to these bonds, the Moody's and Standard & Poor's both independent agencies create a report that they publish that are available to both investors and to the investing public. It not only includes a disclosure of the rating and how they concluded on that rating, but a comparison of the district's credit strengths to other districts. And they talk about kind of the 4 pillars of credit when they look at the district's finances, the district's debt and pension burden, the district's economy, and then lastly, the district's management, which is kind of a blanket term to talk about their administration, how they're governed, what their budget policies and financial policies are like. So those are nice documents to be proud of and to market regarding a third party's opinion of the district's creditworthiness. All in all, it was a very successful bond sale. We're happy with the result. And at the end of the day, the issuance of these bonds saved the district taxpayers quite a bit of money. So we're very happy with the result today. And I can answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, but before I start, if you're a scout or a non-regular attendee, you can feel free to leave anytime. You won't hurt our feelings.
I think I'm boring. I think he's saying that I'm boring someone, yeah.
No. I've got 6 kids. I'm used to people leaving in the middle of me talking. So on the, I'd like to go to this last section, 6. If I'm knowledgeable of the bond market, but not of the school bond market, how might I go about evaluating Klein versus other creditworthy districts, and what might I think in what you were just talking about in that last section, are these hard or subjective criteria for evaluating one district versus another?
I would say most of the criteria that the rating agencies use are hard numbers. They're
in terms of the AA1 or the...
Yes.
Okay.
It has to do, very little of the measures that they use to come to their rating are subjective. Some of them are subjective, like management and things like
Right.
that. The economy, has to do with the trends that have been going on recently, but for the most part, the credit factors that they refer to have to do with ratios, meaning how much cash on hand, cash versus debt, hard ratios that they can't really fudge or that no one could fudge. Those numbers are disclosed in the district's audits and budgets. They were provided by your administrators to the agency, so that they're all dealing with the same information.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but in the state of Texas, if I'm in New York and I'm buying bonds or putting bond packages together, might I go, this has Klein ISD in the package, this is a very good thing, versus another package that has other districts? Is it that discrete to where someone might decide to purchase based on one set of districts versus another?
Yes, very much so.
Okay.
There might be investors that have certain rating thresholds. They can only buy bonds that are rated AA or higher or something. Or if they don't look at ratings, they can only buy bonds from districts that are of certain credit quality using other measures, things that the ratings are based on fundamentally.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. President. Mr. Zimzak, if I may, these people know more about us than you and I know about us. They research us beyond imagination. And when you go sit down with them, they can tell you stories about your district that you've never imagined would actually happen, and they're true stories. So they have offices all over the country, and they research Klein heavily.
Good.
Yeah, these particular analysts from both Moody's and Standard & Poor's are located here in Texas.
Okay.
While they have headquarters in New York City for both of these agencies, they have local offices, and they're familiar with the Texas laws and the Texas education finance system and all the lawsuits that have happened recently regarding school finance, and they're well versed in that language.
Now, I've got 13 years of these stacked up next to my National Geographics in the garage. What should I start doing with them here? Can I send them back to Gene?
They're antiques.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
I'm getting to be an antique. Thank you very much.
You're not the oldest mother.
No, I'm not. Nor do I plan to have.
I have one more question, it's extension of Mr. Simzak's question. You know, obviously, we appreciate the ratings we have. How does that compare with other districts you see? Relatively speaking, how many districts have AA ratings or A1 ratings on a percentage basis?
I would say that probably the average rating for a school district is closer to AA minus or AA3. Moody's uses a AA3 rating for the AA minus equivalent. So that's 2 notches above the average. As far as a percentage of school districts that are in AA1, Moody's does publish a ratio report that I can get a more exact number on, but last time I looked, I think it was close to probably 15%.
Really? Oh, thank you. So
You're
we
in the
do
top-
have reason to be proud of that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Very
good.
much
Thank
so.
you.
And very few bonds across America are ever rated AAA. And that's because of the guarantee that's provided from the state. So that enhances the distribution of those bonds. More investors would buy AAA bonds than they would AA. And obviously it lowers the interest rate of those bonds that you can sell. So you could theoretically have lower taxes or sell more debt at a lower interest rate because of that enhancement.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Very good. Dr. King.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. Dr. Susan Borg is here, and she's going to begin our report on Good to Great Klein Forest, Year 3.
All right. Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Kane and Ms. Spalding, Ms. Amanda Salinas is here. She is the Data Research and Evaluation Officer for our school district, and she's going to give you an overview of the report that you have in your board book, and we also have some slides that summarize some of the points.
Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Kane, Ms. Spalding, and guests. It is my pleasure to present the preliminary 3-year summative report for the Klein Forest High School Good to Great program. Please note, like Dr. Borg stated, you were provided the entire report for your easy reference. This presentation will review the preliminary analysis of the research questions, some of the preliminary findings, and preliminary recommendations after the 3rd year of the Good to Great program. In addition, we will briefly compare Klein Forest High School to a statewide comparison group on several performance outcomes. The Good to Great program at Klein Forest High School was implemented by addressing certain priorities established by the school and district leadership. As you will remember from previous reports, year 1 of the Good to Great program was a year of initial development, initial implementation, and establishing baseline data for future years. Years 2 and year 3 focused on continual improvement while continuing to gather information for this preliminary and summative report. As a reminder, the Good to Great program priorities are to assign core teachers. There were 5 periods of student instruction, 1 period of conference, 1 period of Good to Great collaborative planning and professional development. The Good to Great program also provided additional targeted professional development, provided incentives to increase teacher and staff attendance, and provided additional support staff with an additional administrators, an additional counselor, enforcement officer, and community liaison. Now we'll briefly examine the 6 research questions based on these priorities, along with a couple of preliminary findings and recommendations. But please note that all of the preliminary findings and recommendations are located in your report. So research question 1 was what impacts occurred by having teachers in core subjects and foreign language teach 5 of 7 periods each day. So you'll remember that this group of teachers at Klein Forest High School have a conference period, an additional period for collaborative planning, professional development, tutoring, mentoring, and other activities identified in the campus needs assessment. The extra period for student intervention was coined Eagle's Nest, so you'll hear that. Preliminary findings indicated that the teachers perceived this additional conference period as beneficial because it provided more in-depth collaborative discussion among teachers on lesson planning and student intervention and student achievement. An annual survey for instructional staff regarding professional learning communities has been administered in Klein district-wide for the past 3 years. So overall analysis indicated little to no improvement on the PLC learning continuum at Klein Forest High School. Further analysis by actual departments at Klein Forest High School demonstrated areas of improvement. So based on our preliminary findings, a preliminary recommendation is to continue to utilize the results from the PLC survey with focus on the departments that showed little to no improvement on the PLC learning continuum. Research question 2 was what is the impact on student achievement and instructional strategies with an additional 3 to 5 targeted professional development days. So preliminary findings indicated that since the type of additional and targeted professional development changes from year to year based on the needs of the campus, it's difficult to track a yearly progress at Klein Forest. But most of national research will indicate that any additional professional development is valuable for both the professional and the students. So based on the preliminary findings, one of the preliminary recommendations would be to follow up with additional opportunities to survey or to gather reflections from staff on the utilization of professional development in the classrooms. Research question 3 was how did teacher incentives for attendance impact the Good to Great program? So a priority was to encourage staff to commit to being present for students at school by providing teacher incentives for attendance. So staffs were able to earn either a full or a partial stipend. One of the preliminary findings indicates that the attendance stipend at Klein Forest High School has made a positive impact. When compared to the other Klein ISD high schools, Klein Forest teacher absences were statistically and significantly less. On average, Klein Forest teachers were absent 1 to 2 days less than their counterparts at other Klein ISD high schools. So a preliminary recommendation would be to continue the attendance stipends at Klein Forest. Research question 4, what were the impacts on instructional programs, intervention, and student safety by adding 2 administrators and 1 counselor at Klein Forest? The 2 additional administrators were added to assist with the implementation of the district behavioral management program. An additional counselor was provided for extra time for students to receive more counseling for graduation plans and other needs of the students. The preliminary findings indicated that the 2 administrators have made a significant and positive impact on student behavior. Since the inception of the Good to Great program, in-school suspension, ISS, incidents have decreased by 28%, and out-of-school suspensions, or OSS, have decreased by 36% at Klein Forest High School. In addition, when comparing the percentage of students involved in an ISS or OSS incident, Klein Forest High School is decreasing the percentage of students involved by more than double when compared to the other Klein ISD high schools.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Sure. When comparing the percentage of students involved in an ISS or OSS incident at Klein Forest High School, the percentage decreasing is more than double than that of the other Klein ISD high schools.
Thank you.
Okay. A preliminary recommendation would be to explore some other ways to evaluate the impact of the additional counselor. Research question number 5 is, do students and staff perceive Klein Forest High School as a safe and stable learning environment? The additional law enforcement officer was assigned to Klein Forest High School in order to expedite the investigation of address affidavits and process student truancy and attendance issues more quickly. So a preliminary finding after this third year indicated that based on the total number of residency checks, you'll remember that as part of the Good to Great program that we have an additional officer at Klein Forest High School that performs residency checks. The total number of residency checks that have been conducted since the inception of the Good to Great program, 42% of the checks conducted discovered students that did not reside in the Klein ISD attendance boundaries. A preliminary recommendation would be further analysis should be conducted during the 2016-17 year regarding student truancy and attendance issues. And finally, the 6th research question is, how did the addition of the community liaison impact Klein Forest High School? So at Klein Forest High School, a community liaison was provided to assist the campus in strengthening its ties to the community, as well as to coordinate efforts via a campus outreach program. Preliminary findings indicated that the community liaison has attended multiple Rotary and Chamber meetings to represent Klein Forest, informed organizations and businesses about the Good to Great program, built relationships to match businesses and students for possible career paths, encouraged students to volunteer more, help provide college and career opportunities, and has been a positive role model for students. A preliminary recommendation based on these findings would be that during the 2016-17 school year, a survey should be developed and administered to the community and local businesses to gather some feedback about community perceptions at Klein Forest High School. The last section that was included in your report provides a new look at comparing Klein Forest High School and the 10 high schools that look most like Klein Forest, according to the campus comparison groups that's released by the Texas Education Agency each year. Some of the measures from the Texas Academic Performance Report, or also referred to as the TAPR report, sometimes the TAPR report, included are the attendance rate, graduation rate, and multiple post-secondary measures. Please note that the publicly released data for other high school campuses lag by as much as 2 years, and the Good to Great program did not begin into the 2012-13 school year, and so that's why this is really our first available look at some of these data. In comparing Klein Forest to 10 other similar high schools, Klein Forest ranked favorably in attendance rate, the percentage of students that were identified as college-ready graduates, and the average SAT/ACT score. Areas in need of improvement for Klein Forest include the percentage of advanced course dual credit enrollment completion, the percentage of advanced placement or AP results where students were scoring a 3 or higher, and also the participation percentage on the SAT or ACT test. But it's also very important to note that this year, in fact, next week, all juniors will be participating in a school day ACT. So therefore, the class of 2017 will have a very large percentage of SAT, ACT participants. As more data for comparison schools is publicly released by the state, it will be important to keep track of how Klein Forest ranks among their comparison schools. So thank you. This concludes my presentation of the preliminary 3-year summative report for the Good to Great program. And at this time, I'd be happy to address any questions you may have about this report. Yes, sir.
Back on question number 5. I didn't really exactly get the connection between the question and your findings. It's talking about feeling safe. You're talking about residency checks.
Sorry about that. Hold on. It doesn't want to go that way. Hold on. Oh, you know what? I remember this new trick. There we go. Well,
One more.
doesn't
There it is.
like
There it
it.
is.
I can see it. It just went touch. The first year, it was there was priorities that were set in place, and there was more of a formative type of assessment, of evaluation. And during that first year, after that first year, we looked at some ways that we could actually measure some of the priorities. So there were some research questions that were developed. So we developed these 6 research questions, and there are different things that are components of it. One part is the safety. We also look at, in the formative report, you'll see more things about the Klein Quality Survey on measures of student safety and well-being. There's some other issues. I think there's some staff satisfaction, staff safety. So there's other indicators. So for this, it's just a few of the preliminary findings.
Maybe I'm missing it. I don't see the connection between, do you feel safe and stable? 42%, that
So-
reside in the Klein ISD area. I'm not seeing the connection between your findings and the research question.
So the research question covers multiple different measures. So within the question, there are other measures such as student safety and well-being, staff safety, and attendance boundary with the officer. One of the priorities was ensuring that the students that were attending Klein Forest resided in the Klein Forest zone. And so it was kind of, if some of the students that were attending were some students that might have been misbehaving, causing some ISS or OSS incidents. So ensuring that only the students that should be attending Klein Forest High School provided some safety.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Sure.
You said 42% of the residency check conducted. What was it the first year? That's total for the 3 years, is that correct?
Yes.
What was it the first year? And then what was it the second year? And my question comes back to, why are we still having these problems of kicking these kids out of school that don't belong in school?
Because everyone wants to be in Klein ISD is the first answer.
And that's not an acceptable answer because we have things in place to keep that from happening.
If I may, what happens is that too many times people present false information when they enroll, and they're not shy about doing that. They will very boldly present erroneous, false information in order to enroll. And we are very diligent about following up on instances where we feel there is a likelihood that that has happened. And I commend Mrs. Crittenden and the administration as well as the police at Klein Forest for that follow-up. I wish that people would be honest when they enroll. There are just far too many people who are looking to come to Klein Forest High School from other places, and they will do anything to get in.
And I appreciate that, Dr. King, but we're saying basically 1 out of every 2 students.
No,
at Klein
sir.
Forest.
No, sir. No, Mr. Mann. What
Over
we
a
are
3-year
saying is,
period.
of the residency checks that were conducted each year, 42% of them
Okay,
in
then I
average.
guess I should ask how many residency checks were conducted
On average, about 240 a year.
out of 3,700 students in the
Yes.
school. And if we know that, I'm sorry. Thank you.
My thought is the word perception in there. Do students perceive that they are safer and in a more stable learning environment when they are attending school that with students who are truly our residents? So that word perception, I think, is an important word in that research question.
It is.
And
we
about
gather,
safety.
And we gather other information from focus groups of the students, the staff.
Staff, I see
and-
staff as well, yeah.
And this is only a little bit. And then on the
Okay.
formative reports that we do yearly, there's more in-depth for each of the research questions.
Any other questions? I have a couple, and and pardon me for dwelling, but it's on this question. I believe in a past survey, there was some indication that a lot of students didn't feel safe, or at least not as many felt safe as we would like to feel safe. Do you have annual quality survey results? So you can see the data on, is it improving?
We do. We have looked at the student level, it's important to think of high school students. When we talk about satisfaction, high school students are the least satisfied when compared to the intermediate and the elementary students. So when looking at that, at Klein Forest High School, it has been about the same or slightly higher. It varies very little. So it's been about the same. When we ask students, in particular in the focus groups, each year that I've been there, they will say overwhelmingly that they feel safer, they see less fights, they feel, that they always see more presence of teachers in the hallways during passing periods and at lunch. And so the biggest thing for us is looking at that perception. One thing that we do and we provide the Klein Forest administration with is the actual survey items that make up the dimension on student safety and well-being, and they can look at the percent how that varies from year to year, and they incorporate some of that into their campus needs assessment each year. So it's something that we monitor. It's something that's included in the formative reports each year, but for this preliminary look, we only looked at a few of the different findings and recommendations. But it is monitored every year.
Okay. The other general question I have is, let me preface it, is I'm not trying to be overly critical. In fact, I think the board has overwhelmingly supported any program that's recommended at Klein Forest and the feeder program to make improvement. And I think we continue to have that attitude. But frankly, when I look at this report and a lot of the data, it's tough. It's tough to see improvement. There's a lot of soft conclusions in there, but a cynic could make conclusions that are not so attractive. And so can you say anything, even in a general way, that would give us comfort that we're making progress here?
Well, I think in a research perspective, I think the word that you heard me say a lot was preliminary, and there's a reason, because that first year, if you remember, it started in 2012, 2013. That was the first year of the Good to Great program. That consisted of some seniors. I mean, obviously it's a 9 to 12 campus, but some of those students that we were evaluating they'd only been there for 1 year. We're looking at outcomes of SAT and ACT scores, and they were impacted by Eagle's Nest for a semester. So it had just started. The second year, so we said that first year in 12-13 was the baseline, the initial year. 13-14 and 14-15, the years 2 and 3, have really been the first years. In fact, this group of seniors that will graduate will be the first group that has only known what is good to great. They've had 4 years of Eagle's Nest. They've had 4 years of the additional counselor, the additional officers. So 3 years was really the earliest we could even look at anything, and it's very hard, and I would not have the confidence to say that even if it went up, if it spiked up and scores went up, I would be very hard to say that this is the reason why. So 3 years is a very bare minimum. 4 to 5 years is really when you can start to say, okay, there is a trend, or this 1 year really was a blip in the year. So, I mean, the first couple of years, we really couldn't look at it. It's not the same in a research world where we look at control groups and we can withhold, you have the treatment control group, and then you have the group that's getting whatever it is, like if it's a medical thing, getting the drug. Well, it's different in the school district, because we can't say, okay, at Klein Forest, only this group of students is going to get all the benefits of good to great, and these are not, because then we'd be able to see from year 1 on out, did it work or not? So we're still in the very early stages. I am hopefully optimistic that as we get more results at the end of this 15-16 and 16-17 year, we're collecting lots of data, but it's hard to say with any definitive certainty if it is if the success is due to good to great, or any of the other interventions that are being conducted at Klein Forest High School.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Zimzek.
Thank you for the report, and I concur with your with the summary assessment you just gave. I work in the oil patch, and I'm often looking at a statistical set of wells, and we have to remove outliers and go through a series of rigorous statistical rules to make sure that we're looking at true data. So I think, and I'm only speaking for myself, but I think it's a sense of the board. There's no impatience here. I think you can rest and continue doing your work. I think my personal view, Dr. Kane, I think we may want to engage perhaps a consultant, a statistical consultant that has a background in this. And here's my reasoning. If we're measuring, what's our first year, 2014?
2012-13 was the first year.
12-13, so 13, 14, 15, so we're at the end of the fourth year, I guess you said that already. So when we get another 10 years, we want to know that we were collecting for 14 years the right data. We don't know if it's the right data yet because we're not 10 years advanced from where we are. But there's two things out there. Number one are people that have already gone through similar exercises. This is nothing new. Corporations, schools, countries do this all the time. We have weak performing entities. How do we get them to be better? So to take a look, are we measuring the right thing? And I don't disagree with Mr. Smith and perhaps, and also with Mr. Pilkington and perhaps others. There is some soft evaluation here. Well, that's what you would expect. There's some hard evaluation, looking here at the SAT, ACT skill, our scores. We seem to have high scores. And I don't know how that compares closing the gap wise, but that's something that is a hard number and that has a big sample source that we can have confidence in from a statistical degrees of freedom standpoint. The other thing is, I think, by employing a outside statistician, or if we have that skill set within the district, and we hear about this, it's become kind of a cliche or buzzword, but big data. But it's here to say, big companies or companies that go after big data can make conclusions based on what the data tells them if the sample size is large enough. So rather than, I get a sense that we're feeling kind of confined, or we're not getting the hard data. We haven't seen this SAT score jump up, 50% or something. So maybe the board's going to cut the funding. I don't sense there's any of that. We just want to make sure that you have what it takes to succeed without having resources that are underutilized or are the wrong resources. Mm-hmm. And sometimes an outside set of eyes that's experienced in having done this could be a benefit. So that'd be my advice to the district, is to open up instead of close down. And this is a huge opportunity. I heard earlier 15,000 districts in the country. Texas has over 1,000 of them. 1% of every child in Texas is educated in Klein ISD, 50,000 out of 5 million. This is a big deal. If we can figure out and have a degree of success, we'll have people beating a pathway to our door to find out how we did it.
Well, and I can tell you that, the amount of data that we are collecting is what anyone else that's doing a type of program evaluation would be collecting. We're following, if you were to look at the American Education Resource Association, the standards practice.
I understand that, but sometimes we follow because of exactly that. That's what the other groups are doing. But if we don't have enough data yet to know that we're looking at the right stuff, then we don't know how to know if we're looking at the right stuff. So maybe we need to broaden it up. Maybe we look at the way that Walmart looks at their big data and knows that at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, They're gonna sell more Snicker bars than any other time of the week. So they stock up on Snicker bars. There's information in big data that's available. And if we don't have the people trained in the art to get it, then let's go get it. I don't think that's beyond our resource capability.
I do not disagree with you. Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Mr. Smith, if I may, I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the principal at Klein Forest High School, who's done a wonderful job for the past 5 years and just recently announced her retirement. And that's Miss Pat Crittenden. Pat, would you like to say just a few words about the past 5 years? I know I'm kind of catching you cold. But we've seen some nice things happening at Klein Forest High School under Pat Crittenden. And Pat, just if you would say a few words.
You know, as you hear about big data, you look at a campus, and certainly what everyone wants from a campus is to see that that campus, those young people, are excelling the way we want them, the way they're doing at any of our outstanding campuses in this district or across the country. And I feel that in the 5 years that I've been at Klein Forest, we've made great strides. But I think one can't look past the fact that when we say big data, and there is lots of merit in that we've got to look at a campus of 3,700 students is a mighty big ship. A mighty big ship to steer through some mighty tough currents. The currents of a society that is ever changing. A society that has taken for granted that the way we answer a response to anything with which we disagree is with aggression and violence, rather it's physical or behavioral. A society that is ever changing by the technology wave that is moving faster than we could ever imagine. When we look at all of those currents that Klein Forest has to traverse, have we gone as fast and steady forward as you, the board, the community would like? No. And I think of it because I think of not 3,700 students, but individual students. Individual students for whom I've always considered it my moral imperative to ensure that I'm preparing them to be productive, contributing citizens of our society. We've made great strides at the forest. A long way to go, yes. The ocean is big. I didn't take one trip across the ocean to discover America. It will not take 1 year, 3 years, 5 years for us to get my golden eagles where they all need to be. But I'll say, I was glad to be a part of the journey. And I know that the trajectory has nothing but a bright future ahead for every Klein Forest Golden Eagle. And I thank you for allowing me to serve Klein ISD.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Beautifully stated. Thank you. Thank you.
Board of Trustees will now conduct a first reading of the proposed modifications to local board policies pursuant to Texas Association of School Boards Update 104, EEH Instructional Arrangements, Homebound Instruction, FB Equal Opportunity Opportunity, FD Admissions, FEB Attendance, Attendance Accounting, FFC Student Welfare, Student Support Services, FFH Student Welfare, Freedom from Discrimination, Harassment, and Retaliation. Are there any comments or questions from the board?
None.
Then we'll move on to our action items. First action item is the approval of the proposed modification to local board policy DEC compensation and benefits, leaves and absences regarding the new leave reimbursement plan. First reading was conducted on April 4th, 2016. May I have a motion?
So moved.
A second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Next item is the approval and authorization for reimbursement to the lone finalist and new superintendent for trips to Klein ISD to participate in Klein ISD events, activities in the best interests of the transition and the district. May I have a motion?
I so move. I so
Second.
move.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have the approval of proposed revision to student handbooks for the 2016-17 school year. First reading was conducted in April 2016. May I have a motion? Any motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Next item is the consideration and approval of the settlement agreement with Navistar, Inc., IC Bus LLC, and Longhorn Bus Sales LLC. May I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move that the board reject the proposed settlement with Navistar, Inc., IC Bus LLC, and Longhorn Bus Sales LLC, and that the board not approve the current proposed settlement.
Any
I'll
discussion?
second that motion.
Any discussion? So, a vote for the motion is a vote against the settlement.
That's correct.
All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Next is the approval of the agreement concerning the purchase and development of 67 plus or minus acres of real property near Frassati Way and Spring Stubner Road, and authorization to make related conveyances and dedications. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Next, we'll consider the approval for the project initiation for replacement of sports field lighting at Klein's Collin High School. May I have a motion?
Take that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Next item is approval of the construction documents for the Wunderlich Intermediate Gymnasium and Classroom Addition. May I have a motion?
I so move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have the approval of the schematic design development, and construction documents for the campus sound reinforcement project. May I have a motion?
Take that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Next item is consideration of the access and sanitary sewer easements for the Dowdell Public Utility District and Klein ISD Multipurpose Center site. May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. We'll now consider the approval for the change order to reduce the technology allowance in the construction contract for the purchase of technology infrastructure and wireless access equipment at High School Number 5. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Is that just purely a technical change?
What we're doing, if I may, what we're doing is we're simply using bond funds to make the purchase and then reimbursing with E-rate.
And it's the same general dollars?
Exactly.
Thank you.
All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Next is approval of the change order to reduce the technology allowance in the construction contract for purchase of technology infrastructure and wireless access equipment at Mahaffey Elementary School. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
That's the same thing.
Mhm.
Same thing, different campus. Right.
All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Now we'll consider approval to delegate authority to the superintendent to negotiate and execute an electricity contract.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a question, and that's for Dr. Kane. Is that something that you want to have access to for the next 45 days?
I think so.
I mean, the rates aren't going to change.
Well, we're thinking that this could be a very good time in the market to strike, and so we'd like the authority to do that. This one and the next one. This one's for electricity, the next one's for gas.
Yeah. But
Any
you're
other
thinking
discussion?
electricity's going to change because I've not seen a change in the past 3 years.
Well, based upon our analysis of the market, we think that there's a really good time coming up when we could strike for a very low rate.
Okay, this will approve for Dr. Kane to have that authority?
Yes.
And when he retires July 1, then this goes away?
It says authority.
Mm.
Superintendent.
Okay.
Correct.
Legal reading?
So the legal reading is it's the position, not the person. You're delegating authority to the superintendent, whether it's Dr. Kane or Dr. Champion or
No,
the future.
to the position.
Correct.
All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have the approval to delegate authority to the superintendent to negotiate and execute a natural gas contract. May I have a motion?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Now we have the approval of CSP 16-290, Student Services, Speech and Language Pathologist, SLP, Occupational Therapist, OT, Certified Occupational Therapist Assistants, COTA, Physical Therapist, PT, Physical Therapy Assistants, PTA, Licensed Specialists in School Psychology, LSSP, and Educational Diagnosticians. And I almost got through that without mispronouncing anything.
I so move. We need them.
Any discussion?
Second. Give me a second.
Second.
Oh, sorry.
All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have approval of the annual contribution resolution for the Kleinwell Wellness Program. May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Next item is the approval of the Memorandum of Understanding with Lone Star College, University Park. May I have a motion?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Moving on to the consent agenda, are there any items you wish to remove from the agenda? Ms. Reitmeyer.
None?
None.
F. None.
Item F. So we'll move to item F. Item F is acceptance of the proposal from Engineered Air Balance for Test and Air Balance Services at High School Number 5. I have a motion.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Discussion.
My question is this something that we've ever seen before? Because I'm not aware of it, and we're paying almost $500,000 for testing and balancing per the standards and schedule. And is it something that we have budgeted in High School 5?
It's not something you've ever seen before because typically it is within the purview of the entire project, and just with recent changes in contract approval, we'll be changing our project initiation language and other things to become more transparent in the construction process. All of the professional services that you need in construction, dealing with surveying, building commissioning, testing and balancing, materials testing, et cetera, are all included in the contract, all included in the project scope. We'll be breaking out the individual projects if the board hasn't specifically approved that firm. And in High School 5, when we went to project initiation at that time, you approved the overall program, but not the individual contracts, or providers. So we're taking care of that by making it, by bringing this one to the board, and we'll bring others in the future so that when we do project initiation, we'll list all of the firms that provide professional services in the construction that will be paying them more than $50,000, for instance. but it's standard practice and part of the project.
That's fine. That answered my question because I had never seen this before. Thank you.
To Mr. Mann's point, and I credit him for picking up on that. So would I be correct in saying that if we had a set of 5 services that each cost $20, in the past we would have approved $100, now we're going to go 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, and we're not seeing a change in the total?
You won't see a change in the total. These are all just small, or they are a subset of the total construction cost.
So something we've always done,
Yes, sir.
but now is being presented differently.
Right, so it'll be more transparent.
Thank you.
And we're going to be paying them direct instead of the contractor?
That's correct. It's a professional service, and
Okay, this is the new legislation that came out last fall.
part of it.
Okay, now I'm with you. Thank you. You've answered all my questions.
Yeah.
I
Do you
appreciate
know
it.
anyone on the state legislature?
Not currently, but I think real soon we will.
We should sit down and have a conversation.
I think
with
so.
some of those people.
I wonder if we could arrange that tonight.
I
Okay.
have a noose out in my trunk.
So we'll now
Thank you,
vote
Mr.
on the motion, which was formerly item F in the consent agenda. All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. And now we'll vote on the consent agenda. All those in favor? Passes 5-0. We're now ready to approve the minutes of the regular meeting on April 4th, 2016, and minutes of special meetings on March 31, April 1, April 2, April 6, April 19, April 20, April 21, and April 28. We've been busy with recruiting a new superintendent. May I have a motion?
Second.
All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Now for calendar review, please note the following events. The academic banquet was rescheduled to May 18, and the staff recognition banquet will be held May 19. Monday, May 23rd, we'll have a board workshop beginning at 6 p.m. Dr. Kane's retirement reception will be held at the Multipurpose Center on May 25th, and high school graduations are on June 4th. The preview for next month for items over $1 million includes the renewal of the bid for dairy products and participation in the Harris County Department of Education Choice Partners Cooperative Commodity Processing bid. And now we're ready for board comments. Ms. Reitmeyer.
I'd like to give kudos and thanks Cindy Doyle so much for what's happened at the Multipurpose Center with the flooding and all the coordination that happened with that. And to thank Judy Ramato for attending and being a huge part of our initiative for Go Public, Gulf Coast Association of School Boards. I think we're coming along, and she's going to be a major part of how we do that promotional thing. Her ideas, we're using her good brain.
Mr. Simzak.
Yes, thank you. I suspect the district is already looking at some of the bus driver issues that were presented to us today. What I heard seemed very reasonable. I know we've got budgetary issues that we need to look at, but I would certainly appreciate some follow-up to the board on that. The last thing, to the degree it happens in terms of actual numbers, the last thing I want to be known for is a training grounds for our other districts. Special thanks to Mr. Kevin Roberts. Congratulations on your uncontested primary win. And I suspect that based on your district's voting pattern that you won't have much of a contest in November. We welcome you as a representative for our Klein ISD voters. They're our voters and your voters. And we look forward to meeting with you and others in the legislative body to talk about issues of common interest.
We're working with you all and representing Klein ISD.
Thank you, Kevin. Klein ISD artwork, wow, what a great deal. I guess now I have to go to Washington, D.C. to see that. Did you look at that piece of art, that girl? That was her uncle returning, U.S. Army returning veteran and his daughter, I think, or his niece. I guess the uncle and the uncle's daughter.
Homecoming was the name of it?
Homecoming, yeah.
Homecoming.
Good to great, Dr. Kane and others representing that program. Let's keep going. Let's, if we're seeing soft or intangible benefits, those are real benefits. But the more we can parallel those with hard data, the easier it is for us to continue the effort to fund. So thank you very much. And how many meetings do you have left? You haven't been counting how many you have.
Just a few.
Just a few. Unless we keep you on some kind of retainer.
But I will assure you, as I've said to so many people, that the time is really moving too fast. I would just as soon it slow down a bit.
So would we.
Thank you.
So would we. Thank you.
Mr. Mann.
So I guess we need to rescind our signatures on that retirement certificate tonight.
Yes.
Let's take those back. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Zimzak, for your comments. Kevin Roberts, thank you for being part of us. And I want to say just one more thing about good to great. And I know it sounded like I was pretty critical because those numbers are just they're not acceptable to me, and it's something that I've argued and fought for 25 years. We've got to find a way, and if it requires the legislature, then so be it, but to keep these people from lying, from cheating and stealing, to get into our district and use our taxpayers' dollars and cause the disruptions and the instability. And I'm not upset with Ms. Crittenden or with the data department. I'm upset with the fact that we've got these students that are not students, but yet we're still having to be responsible for them, and they're causing disruption, they're causing all kinds of problems with the stability that we have. And Dr. Kane and I have talked for years about if we can keep a kid for 2 years, we can educate them, but we can't keep them because they're here false. I almost want to find a way that we can hand search each one of them when they come in the first day and guarantee where they live and how much stability they have in living there. It's wrong for our taxpayers to have to pay taxes to educate somebody else's students. And that's something that, Kevin, I want to talk to you about at some point in time real soon. We are a STEAM district. I am so proud to be part of a STEAM district. And tonight, just one more time, our academics are there. Our French program was there. And all the arts is just, it's a wonderful place to be in Klein. Jim, thank you. Thank you for being with us for all these years and all the work that you've done. And I think I'm still. Thank you.
Very nice to see all the artwork, the French, just everything that's gone on in this district. It's amazing, 12 years you've been here. I think it's coming down, though 26 is the real number. 26 days until graduation, so start practicing your Trivial Pursuit. No, just thank you. It's going to be, I'm going to miss Miss Crittenden, just talking about the Enchanted Forest. So the new principal's got some big shoes to fill.
Yes, we do.
That's it.
Well, I would ditto all the comments being made, or have been made, and also congratulate Dr. Kane for winning the Walter Case Award from the Anti-Defamation League in the Unite for Understanding. I was privileged enough to attend that luncheon last week. It was a ballroom full of people at the Hilton down in the Galleria that, except for guests, paid $200 a pop to be there. And the guest of honor was Dr. Kane, so a well-deserved honor. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I believe this is your 359th regular monthly board meeting.
Is it right?
And you ring the bell at 360, is that right?
Wow, I haven't counted.
Well, we're going to miss you. So I turn it over to you for
Thank
comments.
I want to thank some folks that have received thanks as well tonight. Cindy Doyle from the Education Foundation for her work helping the victims of the flood. Also, Beth Gilliland Beth Gilliland is just an outstanding individual that works at the Klein Instructional Center. She oversees counselors and many other aspects in that regard, and she stepped right up with Cindy and just did a wonderful job. So I tip my cap to Beth as well. Parents that showed up, community members that showed up, and we had close to 1,000 students that donated their time to that effort. So that just speaks so well. I want to congratulate all of the students and the teachers and all the folks who were honored tonight for their contributions in fine arts and the French Club and so many other things. I just can't say enough about how our teachers and our principals have gone about the task of the 2 makeup days. You know, we had to convert one of the makeup days that was originally a staff development day to a student day, and then we had to add 18 minutes to all the other days in between May the 2nd and June the 3rd. And people just have made it work, and they've made it work beautifully. So it's just wonderful to see that kind of leadership from our teachers, our principals, and our support staff as well. And then I have to tell you how impressed I am with Dr. Brett Champion. He met with the leadership circle today and then with the executive team. He and I had a chance to talk for an extended period of time, and then he met with our senior leaders today. And I think that the board has done an outstanding job in selecting Dr. Champion, and I think that, as I said when he was here and you named him at that special meeting, great things indeed lie ahead for the Klein ISD. And so you are to be commended for taking 50 applications, narrowing that to a first round of 6, and then taking that to a second round of 2, and then choosing Dr. Champion. I think you've done a wonderful job getting our school district positioned for great things to happen in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Mann.
I'd say one more thing, Dr. Kane. I will not be able to be here at the June meeting, which will be your 570th or whichever number. And I just want to say thank you personally for the friendship, for the hard work, and everything that you've done for Klein.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you very much, Rick. Thank you.
So if there are no objections, it's now 9:53 p.m. and this meeting is adjourned.